I told you that within 5 years of starting up, you had the opportunity to sell your business for just shy of $1 billion? What if I then told you that after 9 months of diligence, on the day that you were actually going to sign the deal was actually called off? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gaurav. I am one of the co-founders of Axio, and we are one of the fastest growing consumer credit companies in India today. And this was my story, well, at least the first half of it. And I'll never forget that day. It was August 4th, 2019. My co-founder and I flew to New York to have dinner with the CEO of the company that was actually going to buy us. And the next day, we were on the way to their office to sign the papers, and we got the call when we were in the taxi saying, hey, the deal is not happening. And we looked at each other, and it really felt like a punch in the gut. We didn't know what happened. We started thinking, questioning, what happened at that dinner? What did we say? What did we do? What did we eat? That this was the outcome after 9 months. And you know what followed was probably the darkest and most difficult few months of my life. That news actually sent me into a lot of grief and depression. And I haven't really talked much about this in public. But we then wonder, why does something like that give us grief? And as founders, our business is like our family. It is who we are. And yes, the money from that sale would have been good, would have been life-changing. But it wasn't about money for us. When I started to introspect, I realized that the grief was because I was letting myself down from a weight of expectations that was put on us by society, simply because my father had built an amazing business over 30 years and sold it to Blackstone just a few weeks before the Lehman crisis. And my whole motivation in starting up was actually being able to build a company faster, better, and sell it at a higher value, just like my father did. And so when I got the opportunity to sell the business during our own Lehman crisis, which is a financial crisis in India, I jumped on it with both hands and probably made the biggest mistake of my life, agreeing to sell at that point. Anyways, it was like I said, there was real founder depression, and sometimes we glorify startups too much and don't really talk about the lows and the tough lows. And for me, this depression hit probably at the worst time. We had a few months of runway left. We had gone from being the poster child of the startup ecosystem to having jokes made on us, to having layoffs. And it really felt that things were only getting darker and more difficult as we were then plunged into COVID just a few months later. It had become a real struggle to even wake up and go to the office. And I actually ended up resorting to eating and overeating and probably put on almost about 25 pounds. Finally, one fine day around September 2020, a few months after my twin boys were born, I chanced upon a story of this amazing man, a 60-year-old man who actually did a full Ironman, which is a 16-hour race with 4 kilometers of swimming, 180 kilometers of cycling, and 42 kilometers of running, with his son on his back, his teenage son having ALS. And that was the inspiration, that was the moment that I decided, if this guy could do it, why not me? Why couldn't I let go of my own demons and build the business that I wanted to build and be the parent that I wanted to be and set an example not for myself but for my kids as well? And so in the 12 months that followed, I finally did it with a disciplined, regimented training plan, and within 7 hours, I was able to complete my race. And what happened in those 12 months post the race and in the 12 months that actually have gone by since then, our business didn't just survive, it thrived. We started crushing it. We started doing really well. We went from 200,000 customers to 6 million customers. We reduced our credit losses by 70%. We raised $50 million. And today are one of the best lending consumer credit fintechs in the country today. And I am so grateful to the Ironman journey for having this turnaround both in myself but at my business as well. And so what did I learn? I'll just leave you with 4 things. I don't want to give advice, but I'm just telling you, this is my journey and what I learned. The first is the what. Today in sports, there is enough number of metrics and data that we can all track. But I used the one metric, which was heart rate. How do you improve your heart rate? And I looked at it daily, weekly, monthly, and after every workout that I did, I would track my heart rate and made sure it got to a point that I was fit enough to complete such a difficult race. And same thing I did in my business. My co-founder and I made the business much easier, much simpler, and started tracking one number. As a lending business, the collections or people who don't pay you back is the most important thing. So the one number we started tracking was people who don't pay you back within 30 days. And everything we did, we built and hired of people was just to improve that one number over the next 24 months. And it did. And today I can proudly say that we are amongst the lowest NPAs within the Indian credit industry today. The second is the why. I was with 10 kilometers left into my race and my right leg really started cramping up. I was in deep amount of pain. I had to stop. And immediately my thoughts went back to that dinner in New York. And I was like, no, I'm not going to give up. That's not going to happen. Because I started to feel as to why was I there at that race? Why was I building this business? And I started to realize that everybody has their why. And for me, that why was the fear of failure. Sometimes in startups, we glorify failures too much. But I had become petrified of failure, maybe because of the weight of expectations. But whatever it was, I had become really fearful of failure. And I said I wasn't going to fail. I stood up from my race, completed it strong. And that same level of fear of failure today exists in the business today, which I think is great for a credit and a risk-averse business, where even today we make mistakes, but we don't just move on. We pick up in our company, we learn from that mistake, we make sure we correct it, we make sure we rebuild, and not that we just did a failure and moved on. Finally, the coach and the team, right? I had a strength coach, I had a triathlon coach who helped me get through the finishing line, right? There's a big cliche in sports that it's never an individual sport, it's a team sport, and that is very, very true. My wife helped me a lot with my nutrition. But somehow when it comes to business, we always feel shy of asking for help. And so my co-founder and I actually found a coach. And this is someone who helped us make tough decisions. He guided us with strategy, gave us communication tips, spent hours with us, pushed us, fired us, and also at times of our darkest days just gave us a cup of ice cream to make things a little lighter. And we are forever grateful to him. But it was the team that also, our inner team within the company, who became very close to us. They became like family. These are the ones we trusted. We opened up to them like we've never opened up before. They held us accountable, and it just became fun to work with them. And so I'm again ever grateful to the coaches, both in my race and at work. And finally, the link, right? And what I mean by the link is the Ironman race is not possible without discipline. The discipline of setting daily, weekly, monthly goals is something that I became good at and something that I started to imbibe in my business as well. My co-founder and I became very disciplined about setting daily, weekly, monthly goals. And what happened for me is I started to triangulate my business goals with my endurance goals. For example, if for a few months we needed to do cost cutting, I took it upon myself to lose some weight and reduce body fat. When I finished my first Ironman, in the same month, we raised our $50 million. And now, as I do my next race next week, and the following one, 9 months from now, the biggest goal for me as I complete those races is to make sure that our company reaches a break-even and reaches profitability. But always there are bigger goals as well. And so as I look forward to 2025, which is just a few years away, my personal endurance goal is to conquer the English Channel and swim across that. It's something, I've never been a good swimmer, so it's something that I'm going to push and train a lot for. But at the same time, I would like my company to IPO in 2025, and that's going to be a lot of hard work that's going to get us there. And so finally, ladies and gentlemen, what started off as a very dark period because of that dinner has turned out to be the best thing that actually ever happened to me and my business. I'm a far better individual, physically, emotionally, mentally, and I can say with confidence that Axio today is a far better business than it ever was. Thank you so much.